This is APAB. We're doing Intro to BC, the ITBC unit, which is topic 1, parts. So in the last video, I accidentally called the example 3 when it was actually 2 again. I forgot that both times I did the same example, I still called them 2. I didn't call them example 2 and example 3. It was just example 2 and then example 2 a different way. So oops, this one is actually example 3. So in this situation, it's hard to identify that it's parts. The reason it's hard to identify is the warning I gave you that something is parts is that you spot a product where U sub doesn't work. Here, I think it's hard for us to see that this is a product. It is technically a product. It's a natural log of x times a dx, and there's no other way to integrate it. But it's difficult for us to spot that this is parts. The other problem where you're going to see this come up is if they give you something that's strictly arc-trig. So if they ask you to integrate the inverse cosine with dx, right? Like inverse cosine of x dx. That's going to be another one where it doesn't look like parts, but it is. So for me, one of the big hints is that if you look at Liat, right, if we look at Liat, this trick where it looks like it's not a product, but it might be a product, they really only happen if your integrand includes a log by itself or an inverse trig by itself. So if you see an integrand that is just straight up a natural log and that's it, it's parts. If you see an integrand that's just straight up inverse trig where it says arc sine of x dx, that's parts. You could alternately just memorize how those integrate if you really wanted. Me personally, after like 20 some years of doing this, I've just never bothered. It's easy enough to do parts. So let's walk through this. So knowing that if I have a log, it's my u, this thing, natural log of x, is my u, and anybody left over, which in this case is crazily enough just the dx, that's my dv, right? So what ends up happening is I get that u is the natural log of x, and dv is just a dx. So du is a 1 over x dx, and v is just an x, right? So when I do my uv, right, uv is going to be x natural log of x, right? Minus the integral of v du, well, that's going to be these guys, and it's going to end up being minus the integral of a 1 over x times a dx. Well, 1 over x times x is just 1. So I end up getting that this is an x natural log of x minus the integral of just a 1 dx, which is totally just going to integrate to an x, right? So if I inch this guy over for a sec, I'm going to get that this is x natural log of x minus, sorry, color switching takes some time, x plus c. And that is how you do the antiderivative for a natural log. Again, you could memorize this if that's how you roll. Me personally, I have never bothered, and it seems to have suited me fine. But, you know, whatever works for you.